What's up YouTube? Today we're looking at Lunacy Audio's brand new plugin called Beam. It's an interactive effects playground based around convolution reverb, granular processing, and some other stuff. So just a heads up, this video was sponsored by Lunacy Audio, so I'm going to kind of stay away from too much of my opinions and that kind of stuff, and just show you how I've been using it for sound design. I was also a little bit involved in the process of the plugin. There's a couple of my own presets in there, and I did a little bit of back and forth in terms of beta and that kind of stuff. So anyway, like I said, I'm going to try not get too kind of like opinion based and just show you the features and how I've been using the plugin. So anyway, today I want to show you the three main techniques that I kind of use this plugin for, where I think it really truly excels. So with that being said, let's dive in and have a look. So the first technique I want to talk about is creating trance gates or glitchy kind of effects. So this works really well on vocal patterns, but also any type of sound that you want to create more of a rhythmic type of effect to. So yeah, let's dive in and have a look. So for this effect, we're going to make use of the grain and the ability to lock the rate of the grain to a specific tempo. So let's set this to 1/16, and then we're going to unlock the size from the tempo. So what this allows us to do is cut the sound basically into 16ths, and we can use this to kind of control the envelope of the sound. So what I want to do is I want to assign the LFO to the size parameter over here. And what we can do is we can actually click this edit button. This brings up this LFO editor over here. We can actually choose from some kind of pre-made LFOs if we want, but I'm just going to choose something simple. We're going to edit it. Then what we can do is we can choose this kind of square editor, and we can kind of just draw in a kind of simple kind of gated pattern type thing like this. But what I actually want to do is I want to set it to 16s. So that way we can kind of get a little bit more groove going in the kind of like steps. And what we want to do is we want to choose a rate of, okay, 1/1 seems about right. So let's test this out. And we can use this amount to fine-tune that. What we can also do is we can say some of them, let's say, go like a half. So we can get a bit more kind of range in the groove. I actually want to set this to unipolar by right-clicking on the modulation. So using this technique, we can actually get quite a bit of control for creating these kind of like trance gate-like glitchy patterns. We can also take it a step further by adding some extra effects. So I don't want to use the delay that's built into this grains, because to get a proper delay effect out, we want to mix it out. So what we can do is we can actually add another grains module over here. And what we can do is we can use this delay as like a kind of traditional delay effect and mix it down a little bit, turn the feedback up, and we can kind of get the delay effect after the trance gate. And then just to top it all off, we can add a bit of reverb into the train. These kinds of sounds, though, I generally like to put the reverb in the front, because that then kind of like smears the sound before it's getting chopped and gated by this grain effect. Okay, so the next technique I want to talk about is called Soundscapers. So this is a kind of effect that I guess I call Soundscapers because it kind of takes any sound and turns it into a kind of ambient or pad type of sound. And Beam is actually the perfect plugin to do this because it kind of contains most of the effects that I would use for this kind of effect. That would be a granular and a reverb. So there's various ways we can do this. I guess the idea is to kind of just mishmash a bunch of the effects together and see what happens. I generally end up putting space first, then the grains, then a filter, and then space again. This grains, I generally like to use combinations of this ARP and this pitch. So with the pitch, I actually like to go down an octave. So that would be -12. And that kind of gives it the kind of like tapey, lo-fi kind of effect. In fact, let's just listen to what we've got straight off the bat. Cool, that's sounding good. So what I want to do is I actually want to pump this feedback of this delay up quite a bit. Turn the time up a little bit. And we can set this ARP to something interesting. Let's play with these spray and reverse. So what this does is this chooses the kind of random amount that the grains will be reversed. So the reason I like to use a filter over here with these kinds of sounds is because you can hear it sounds very bright and very ringy. But with a low pass filter and then another reverb, you can kind of like get that really drony pad type of sound. Sometimes if it's too dark and drony, what I'll do is I'll add another filter at the end here, and we can actually switch this to high pass mode and then just cut out at the frequency that we want to remove from. So let's say around sort of between 100 and 200, somewhere around there. Okay, so the last technique I want to talk about is creating custom shimmer reverb-like effects. And so again, this is pretty much the perfect tool to create these types of things because it contains most of the types of effects that we need generally for a shimmer. So in a basic sense, a shimmer is made up of some pitch shifting and some reverb. And you can set it up however you want to with the reverb before, after, multiple reverbs, any type of thing like that. I think the particular interesting thing about this type of interface really comes in handy with these types of setups that I want to show you. So for example, what I want to do is I want to create like a grain, and we want to create a parallel lane. So how we would do that is we would just use this pop-up node that happens when you hover over anything, either on the left or the right of the node. So for example, on the left is to add an output cable, like this, for example, and then you can drag it into an input. So if you want to drag it like this, for example, then you have multiple destinations before or after. So take that into account, for example, here. If we want to have, let's say, for example, another one here, and then drag the dry after or before, we can have several different kind of setups depending on how we route it. Do you know what I mean? So here, for example, this can allow drop here. Let's put a filter there, and so the dry can kind of, do you know what I mean? So we can kind of create these networks of these different effects. So here at the end, let's put a reverb. We can call this the master reverb, and we actually don't need this lane over here. We don't need this lane over here. So what we want to do is we basically want to create two pitch shifts, octave and 2 octaves. Those are going to feed into a small reverb, which is just going to kind of add the texture, or, you know, we can actually swap between different ones to quickly change the different tones of shimmer that we're getting. And then we're going to have a master reverb, which basically just adds the space. And in between, we're going to have a delay. So the beauty of this is we want to be able to grab the dry signal and send it into the master effects. And just quickly being able to see this in this interface is pretty powerful. Let's jump into Grains A, and let's set up a pitch up of 12. And we can give it a little bit of spray in reverse just to create some extra kind of sparkles. And the same with this, except let's go up plus 24, bit of spray in reverse. Maybe we can change the width here a little bit. Okay, let's listen to what we've got so far. It already sounds so good. Oh, I love it. Okay, so here with the textures, let's turn this up and see what happens at full wet. So here we can actually just cycle through a bunch. Ooh, I like that. And here, for example, as well, cycle through them till we get that exact effect that we want. Let's create a bit of delay here. Let's say 1/8 dotted. And you've also got volume and pan control for each of these kind of branches or paths, they call them in the plugin. So here we could say pan left and right, the different shimmers, or in fact, let's say half. Let's go 50% left, 50% right. And then also using this gain of like this path, we can kind of change the amount of dry and wet that we have in the signal. So what I want to do is call this Shimmer template. And now what we can do is we can quickly jump in here and here and here and just change them up a little bit to get these kind of varying different textures. What can also be cool is to add a space right at the beginning here. and then use this to add extra textures. Above these grain parameters, each one has like a randomization amount. We can use that to kind of just blur each of these grains so they're never kind of overlapping. And that just adds extra kind of blurry effect. Okay, that's great. I like that. Cool, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed the video. A big thanks to Lunacy Audio for making this video happen, and a big thanks to you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, and please subscribe to this channel and hit the like button if you haven't yet. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.